we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
Despite constitutional guarantees, American civil rights and liberties are constantly in danger of violation, whether by individuals, corporations, or government institutions. Regardless of whether personal prejudices or national security concerns lie at the root of these violations, challenging them and holding wrongdoers accountable is imperative for the sake of the constitutional integrity and the preservation of the American way. Trial lawyers advocate for awareness, the truth, and a person's right to know. They believe that in the absence of the truth, all of us stand helpless to defend ourselves, our families, our health, and our way of life. Oftentimes, we don't think about or worry about or understand what is happening to another until it happens to us. Deceits have no boundaries. Disease doesn't recognize the color of our skin or our political party's affiliation. When it comes to cover-ups and false allegations by agencies of the state and the federal government, there is not a soul amongst us who does not have a cringing fear of their overwhelming, awesome power. It is at these times that we need experienced and dedicated trial lawyers, the warriors in the courtroom, who are willing to battle for us tooth and nail in the halls of justice to protect our cherished way of life. Such a call for justice happened on a beautiful Washington, D.C. Saturday morning, May 4th, 2013 at approximately 10 a.m. Byron Jordan, his wife Helen, and their teenage son, Byron Jr., were on their way to their local church's community outreach event and briefly stopped at the Iverson Mall. Suddenly and without warning, they were attacked by armed thugs inside the mall. The same thugs seen here in this YouTube video they posted after the beating. The mall security rushed to the scene and the thugs fled. Rather than properly investigating the assault, the mall security officers ordered Byron and his family to leave the mall. Outside the mall, these same thugs attacked the Jordans again, this time with deadly knives trying to stab them. Byron grabbed a baseball bat from inside his car and successfully defended his family. When the Prince George police arrived with sirens blaring, they mistook Byron as the attacker and severely beat him, tasered him multiple times, and sprayed his face with pepper spray. Despite the fact that he was telling officers over and over again he and his family were the victims, not the perpetrators. The cops arrested both he and his son, but they were later released when the police realized they had made a huge mistake. Unfortunately, the Jordan family must now live with this trauma for the rest of their lives. 1 year later, Byron still suffers from migraines, back pain, loss of hearing, deteriorated vision, vertigo, and possibly PTSD. Today, the Insider exclusive investigative news team visits with the Jordans, Byron, his wife Helen, and their son Byron Jr., and their lawyer, Yaida Ford, managing principal of the Ford law firm. In this Insider exclusive investigative network TV special, Double Victimization, the Jordan Family's Story. And you will see what happens to everyday law-abiding citizens who, when they call for help from the police after being brutally attacked and victimized by criminals, are then brutally attacked, arrested, and victimized again by the very same police and legal system they depended on to help them. Yaida will explain two very negative legal scenarios that play out in our criminal justice system every day, but very few victims know about. Double victimization and the obliteration of civil rights. Double victimization is what happens to a person who calls the authorities for help after being victimized and then is victimized by the very legal system they called upon for rescue and justice. The obliteration of civil rights for police brutality victims focuses on the uphill battle individuals must take when bringing a civil lawsuit against a municipality, the police, or the government. Since the 1980s, prosecutors who defend municipalities and officers in civil rights and police abuse cases have regularly tried to use slick legal maneuvering to make it more difficult to get justice and hold officers and municipalities accountable for their brutality and illegal actions. They did this by filing motions to bifurcate or divide the trials between the officers and the municipality. In the 1980s, their motions were denied. But since the 1990s, after both Reagan and Bush filled more than half of federal court vacancies with conservative appointees, judges have been granting prosecutors motions regularly. The negative effect of this slick legal maneuvering to bifurcate the cases is that after the first trial against the officers, plaintiffs have to go through a second trial against the municipality. Because of the tremendous financial and emotional toll, plaintiffs rarely proceed to a second trial, making it impossible to hold municipalities liable for their indifference to unconstitutional practices that, in this case, harmed law-abiding citizens. As Yaida has often said, the problem of police brutality is much more widespread than most Americans are willing to admit. Our nation practices a selective blindness. In this great and strong nation, we have become unwitting accomplices to the continuation of the conflict. Yaida has earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike. She has seen many innocent and hardworking people become victims of police brutality. She understands that police brutality is one of the most serious, enduring, and divisive human rights violations in the United States. The problem's not just in Washington, but nationwide, and its nature is institutionalized. And because of that, she is driven to fight for people who have been harmed by the willful or negligent actions of others. Her goals, not only to get justice for her clients, but to make sure all Americans have the right to a fair trial, honest cops, impartial prosecutors, and fair judges with no agendas. Because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and justice and power must be brought together so that whatever is just may be powerful, and whatever is powerful may be just. This is the Insider Exclusive, live from Washington, D.C. It is my great pleasure to introduce Yaida Ford to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve.
Tell our audience a little bit about your firm. What kind of law do you practice?
I specialize in condominium law. We represent homeowners associations and unit owners. We also have an estate planning practice, and we have a very small civil rights practice.
Okay, representing the little guy. That you have a particular interest in that, though, don't you? Why is that?
My father has a background in civil rights. And I went to Howard University School of Law, and they have a jurisprudential bent towards civil rights and social justice. Mm-hmm. I'm also a former legal services attorney here in the District of Columbia, so my background is in poverty law and social justice.
Today we are here talking about a case that falls within that realm. Tell our audience a little bit about your clients.
The Jordan family is a family from the District of Columbia. They were born and raised here. They are ordinary people, average American family, working class family. One day they were scheduled to serve in a community service event with their church, which is here in the DC area. On their way to the event, they stopped off at a shopping mall called Iverson Mall, which is in southern Maryland, which borders the District of Columbia. They stopped off in the mall to look for a pair of shoes for Mr. Jordan's son, Byron Jr. It was an ordinary Saturday morning for them. In the middle of the outing, as they were inside of the mall, Byron Jr. was confronted by a group of young men. As he turned around, they proceeded to attack him. His father, Mr. Jordan, was following behind him on an escalator, so as he saw the conflict, he got between his son and the assailants. At that time, one of the assailants pulled a knife on Mr. Jordan and his son. Immediately, within seconds, police, well, it was just one police officer at the time, and mall security officers rushed down the escalator and proceeded to physically assault Mr. Jordan. They pushed him and asked him to get out of the mall using profanity.
They didn't bother find out who was the perpetrators, nothing. They just grouped them all together.
In fact, when they were pushing Mr. Jordan, the assailants were actually able to walk away from the scene. Mrs. Jordan was on the upper level of the mall. She heard the commotion. It's a very small mall. She heard the commotion and came down the escalator and got her husband and son, or grabbed her husband and looked at the officers and said, "We're leaving." They proceeded to use profanity with Mrs. Jordan. And the Jordans then left the mall, but they left from the lower level of the mall. Their car was parked on the upper level. There's a parking garage outside of Iverson Mall that's a covered garage. They walked up a staircase to get to their vehicle, and as they were approaching their vehicle, the second level doors burst open and the assailants were there waiting for them.
And they attacked him again?
Absolutely.
Right. I believe the police came, correct?
The police did.
And they also didn't really bother to ask who were the perpetrators, who's the victims, and basically they brutalized your client, didn't they?
That is right. Mr. Jordan was struck multiple times about his face and his head, and he was pepper sprayed multiple times. He was tased repeatedly in defense of his family. So now he gets arrested, and the police, when he's in the police station, realize they made a mistake. I understand it was a lieutenant or a police captain. He apologized. They let them go. That is
correct.
Right.
But still, your client suffers from injuries, post-traumatic stress disorder, possibly. Yes.
Yeah, no, he's been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. There's just some chronic issues that he's having now.
So he came to you. His family came to you, and you filed suit against the mall security, against the police department, correct? What are the challenges when you bring a suit against folks like these?
Well, particularly with the county, there are a couple of things that attorneys have to consider in civil rights cases. The first thing is damages. Damages are capped in the state of Maryland. Whenever you're suing a local government, there's a Local Government Tort Claims Act that caps damages for each plaintiff, and the total damage cap is $500,000.
No matter what happens, they could kill someone, and that would be the max.
That is right. If it were a wrongful death case, the damages would be the same, as long as as all of the allegations arose out of the same incident.
Right. Now, you filed suit, and what did the other side do?
The county immediately...
Because this is important. You want a motion on this.
Right. The county immediately filed what is called a motion to bifurcate. They are commonly filed in civil rights cases.
Set up two trials.
Right. And basically that creates it's like an obstacle course for a plaintiff. Because these trials are expensive. You have several expert witnesses, medical experts, security experts, police experts. Everybody has to be paid.
They're expensive for the lawyer.
They're expensive to the lawyer. The trial is also emotionally draining for clients. And so what the motion to bifurcate does is it severs the trial between the county or municipality and the individual officers who inflicted the harm. If the county wins those motions, then there are two separate trials, basically. The cases have to be tried against the officers first. And some jurisdictions, well, this is Maryland particularly, if the plaintiffs are not successful against the officers, well, then the county's position is that, well, there should be no trial against the county because if the officers aren't found liable, then neither is the county. But that's not the law. The law is that a municipality can be deemed liable for a constitutional injury if it is the result of an official act, custom, or practice. And so the judge agreed with us. It's a partial victory in that he did not bifurcate those motions at this point in time. He's going to allow discovery and then decide again whether or not the trial should be bifurcated at that stage. But that saves a lot of time for our clients.
Right.
We'll be able to do full discovery against all the parties in this case, and it'll reduce the delay.
Okay. Now let's talk about two major issues here. Double victimization first, okay, and then second, obliteration of civil rights. How does this apply in this case?
Double victimization is a term that I use when an ordinary citizen is attacked by another citizen and then secondarily attacked by law enforcement.
Right. The same people that they called to help them don't even bother to take the time and find out what's going on and just attack them.
I mean, right, this man was almost stabbed.
Yeah.
I mean, these were armed assailants.
Yeah.
One of them leaped at him with a knife. But for the fact that he was able to back his family into the truck and reach into his truck to get a bat to defend his family, his wife and son against this person, this would probably be a wrongful death case.
Let's talk about another issue, obliteration of one's civil rights.
That's a very important issue, especially given the recent very highly publicized cases in Ferguson and other jurisdictions where we've seen families' lives change forever because of acts of police brutality. It is very difficult for plaintiffs to pursue civil rights claims. One, you have a statute of limitations. Mm-hmm. Two, it's expensive also for plaintiffs. And three, you just have to be able to endure the possibility of having a severed trial, and then there's the appeal process. A county or a defendant can always appeal. It can take up to 5 years.
Now, currently, this case is still pending, correct?
That is right.
We're going to follow it up, all right? Now we have with us one of your clients, Byron Jordan, so let's bring him on right now. It is my great pleasure to introduce Byron Jordan to the show. Welcome to the show, Byron.
Thank you, sir.
You went through a lot, didn't you?
Yes.
Tell our audience a little bit about how your opinion of the police is today.
They brutal. You know, they don't take the time out to listen to...
Because you were telling them you were the victim, right?
Yes.
They attacked you.
Yes.
What'd they say to you?
They just pepper sprayed me, tased me, jumped on me, and then allowed me to be assaulted by the security guards.
Yeah. Now, how has that affected you? How has that changed your life?
It changed my life dramatically. You know, I'm the type of person that like to go play ball all the time. Mm-hmm. I can't even do that, you know, because every time I walk a certain way, my head get dizzy. You know, I enjoyed spending time with my family. You know, after that ordeal, you know, I was afraid to go outside, you know, with my family because I'm afraid that they might see us. Mm-hmm. You know, so I just hibernated in the house for a while until I just started. He's
been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Is that correct?
Yes.
So are you going to a therapist right now? Or
yes, I see a therapist on every second Thursday.
So you have probably never been involved with a lawsuit before, have you?
No, sir.
So what's your opinion of how the legal system works these days?
I don't believe that they are justice. They don't give the proper information. You know, they don't listen. You know, I believe that you have to have money to really get them to hear you. Yeah. And it's something that I don't have. You know, I work 80 hours a week, you know, 2 weeks, and I live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, and that's why we do stories like this, because lawyers like Yaida, she takes on this case, bears the full brunt of the expenses, and with winning this motion, you know, not to bifurcate the trial, which has been a real blessing, this will enable you to go after all the defendants at one time, you know, which is good. How has this whole experience, let's say, changed the way you look towards police? When you see a policeman, what do you think?
I get jitters, I shake, I sweat.
Yeah.
When they come around me or if I'm around them, I just get real nervous.
Yeah.
You know, I started sweating. You know, if it wasn't for me going to therapy and my wife being there in my corner, you know, I probably don't know where I'd be right now.
Yeah. You're on national TV right now, okay? What do you have to say to all America about the way some police, we've seen incidents like in Ferguson, Missouri, right? The way some police treat our citizens.
They have to take the protocol of what they was trained for. Mm-hmm. You know, they have to really assess the situation by minimizing the situation, by getting everyone under control, before they just jump in and just start being doing deadly force.
Yeah.
My perspective for them is, to some of them,
Yeah.
I don't trust them. And what I went through gave me the whole ordeal and I look at all officers that way.
Yeah. That's unfortunate because there are some good officers, but the bad ones are the ones that, give the bad name. And what we've seen in a lot of these cases is that the police departments cover up for them.
Yes.
Which is really unfortunate. Well, we wish the best on your upcoming case.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you very much for spending time with us. We have with us today also your wife, Helen, and your son. We're going to bring them on right now. It's my great pleasure to introduce Byron Jr. and his mom, Helen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell our audience a little bit about how this whole terrible experience has affected your life today.
Well, far as the family-wise, it had affected me a lot, but good thing I was strong enough to hold on, to deal with the situation with my husband and my son.
Mm-hmm.
But each day I thank God that I have a pastor and a co-pastor to give me courage and words every day, forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How about yourself, Byron?
Gotta step up and be a man about the situation.
Yeah. When you saw the police just wailing on you and your dad, what'd you think?
It's something that I just see on TV, never thought it would happen to me.
Because you knew you were the victims. So what were they doing beating you up, right?
Right.
And then when they took you to jail and, what'd you think then?
It's like, I shouldn't even be in this predicament. I shouldn't be in this situation.
How has this, for both of you, how has this changed your attitude towards the police? What do you think when you see a cop now?
I wouldn't even call on them.
You wouldn't call them if you needed help. What about yourself, Helen?
Well, right now I'm kind of like skeptical, a little bit, but I just like turn my, just trying to, turn my head and look the opposite way and everything.
In other words, they're not your friend.
Not at this present time, no.
Yeah.
No.
I wouldn't trust them with my life.
You're both on national TV right now. What do you have to say to America about the police, about the justice system?
The justice system, in my eyes, is not the same. I mean, right now, and what's going on out here in this world with the justice system, it's just a lot. Like, it's a problem after a problem after a problem. You have the good ones, you have the bad ones, and to make it so bad, with my opinion, they make it bad for the good ones because you never know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't put my trust into them.
Mm-hmm.
So it can happen to anybody, like she said, but the justice system is not right.
Yeah, you probably echo that, right?
Yes, I agree with my son 100% because half the time I see police just harass kids for no reason.
Yeah.
But I really don't feel safe right now.
Yeah, accountability. We need more accountability,
Yes.
don't we? Yeah. Well, I want to thank both of you for taking the time out of your daily life to come visit with us here on this show in Washington. And your case is pending. We're going to follow it. And we wish and hope you get the justice you deserve.
Thank you very much.
You get a lot of calls from folks that need your help. How do you select the cases and your clients?
We have an intake process that we use. It's very hard because everybody comes in with
A story. Yeah.
And I'm a compassionate person. We've heard a lot of different stories, but we carefully select what we're going to do based on the facts of the case, the severity of what happened to the clients, and our existing caseload. So if it's something that we know we can do, and that we have the capacity for, if it's something we think the clients are capable of getting through. Litigation is very tough. So clients have to have a certain stamina, a certain personality to deal with that. So we pre-screen our cases, and we have a process that we use to make sure that we can effectively serve the client, and that the client's a good fit for us.
I want to thank you very much for spending time with us on the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.